Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionists, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We've provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have the first 2 episodes of what might arguably be the best Pretty Little Liars adjacent show we've watched yet.
I colored me shocked. I had extremely low expectations for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Pretty good.
When it came on, Brenton said, "Oh, this looks money. Like, this looks high budget."
It looks expensive. This is like Riverdale kind of money. Well, it's moved from sets to places that are on location. I mean, they still have like the house set and things like that. Like, there's still like sets within the like universities and stuff like that. But like, there's a lot of like outside location shots that they're doing. Like, we're not at the Jungle Cruise River anymore. We're not on the Warner Brothers set.
No, we were in the Pacific Northwest, I feel.
Mm-hmm. And so we have moved from the soap opera
or Vancouver. I don't really know.
Right. We've moved from like the single cam soap opera to now the prestige TV sort of look. That's what it looks like now. And it's kind of like what Riverdale looks like eventually too, right? Which is also an expensive show.
Yes.
But yeah, they put some stuff into it. Like, they're definitely trying a different look. They're like, it's 2019. We got to get this going. The new look is now this like prestige look where we're kind of out in location. We're showing external shots. They're out and about, not just on a sound stage. So it's not, but it's so it looks good on that end. And then also we've kind of got a little bit more serious tone, but we've got a interesting mystery.
And it's a slightly, because they're letting like like people in their 20s play people in their 20s. So it actually looks like the cast
Right.
is closer to the correct age. I didn't check all their ages compared to when this came out, but they're at least within like the realm of like college, or 20s.
So I took a peek real quick before we started, and the guy who plays Dylan is like 24 now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, or at least I think that's what. This is very quickly glancing. So I mean, 5 years ago he was 19, playing 19.
Nolan Hotchkiss, who is killed in the first episode, spoiler alert, is I say it after the fact too, is played by Chris Mason, who was born a couple years before me in February. He was born on Valentine's Day, actually, of 1991. But he is also Chad Gecko from Riverdale. So there's some nice little already Riverdale crossovers. I don't remember when Chad is on Riverdale because Riverdale started in 2017?
Yes. So it's like after the time jump. So it's like 2022, I want to say, 2023.
Okay. So he's not around.
Yeah, because it's Veronica's boyfriend.
Yeah.
So it's like
from the time jump.
Exactly.
But he is, I feel like probably like the oldest of the bunch. I mean, maybe Janelle Parrish actually, but she's supposed to be an adult. But I don't actually know when her birthday is.
Quote unquote perfectionists. He seems like the oldest.
Yes. Did you want to look through the cast and discuss together?
Yeah, real quick. So
a lot of noises.
Yeah, we'll talk exactly. Slow down, Brenton. Don't eat it all at once. I mean, obviously we've got Janelle Parrish back as Mona and Sasha Patiris back as Alison. Our like connective tissue to this show that kind of didn't really need them. Anyways, but we'll talk about them more.
And the book series, I don't believe, from the people who have told me about it and from my brief Googling, there's no connection between the two worlds in the books because they're both written by Sarah Shepard, but it's not like it's the same journey.
Yeah, separate series.
And it seems like the book series really doesn't have a lot of similarities with the show besides some of the characters and like, I'm assuming the murder mystery. Like the idea that there was a murder.
Right.
But even that, I'm not 100% sure on.
Yeah, my biggest question actually about continuity between the books and the show, is there as much focus on the technology?
According to our listener, Sarah, she believes, I don't want to put words in her mouth, because I believe she did say, she'd read it a long time ago, that there was not, the beacon guard thing wasn't a thing.
Gotcha.
In the books.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Interesting. Maybe just more focused on it's still sort of like aged up prep school, or like, aged up private school kids at a college. I think the actual beacon guard thing is interesting when it is a follow-up on Pretty Little Liars, because it's moved from technology can be used by your peers against you to now, because we're still in the realm of like young adult-ish sort of thing, that it's systems are in place to monitor and control your behavior. And I think that's interesting.
It is. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So it's moved from the interpersonal to now like there's an entire system of working against you, and the ways technology plays with that. Anyways.
I feel like that's like the Marlene edition. There's a couple of Marlene editions, I believe, too, to most
Marlene
shows.
touch,
but like, I would think
Marlene
that like
teasing.
one of the bigger things I've seen in the things she's done that have been successful, that we've seen, I guess, I don't know her whole body of work, is that there's a level of like the way technology plays with almost like our societal paranoia of being watched and like judging. And using technology to judge and watch and surveillance. And what does that mean when someone has access to you all the time?
Right. Yeah.
And how scary that is. Meanwhile, now we're all just like, hey, share my location. And also like, please don't murder me.
I mean, even at this time, the NSA stuff was 7 years before this. I want to say that was like 2012. So we're in a different, 2019 really not that long ago.
No.
So
it feels so long, and yet also like yesterday.
Totally. Every time I was talking to someone about 2018 earlier in relation to at my job, like talking about interviewing for a job in 2018. It's like that feels like it was yesterday.
But it was so long ago.
6 years. Oh, but okay. So the cast. I think we should start off actually. Mrs. Hodgkiss, I forget her first name right now. I was calling her Mama Hodgkiss or through a lot of my notes, but
Claire Hodgkiss.
Yes, thank you.
She's Nolan's mother, played by Kelly Rutherford. And whose mother is she on television, Brenton?
That is Serena's mother.
Correct.
From Gossip Girl.
Correct.
Which is also funny because then I looked at briefly the guy who plays Dylan again. What's his name? Eli Escobar or something? The actor?
It is Eli Brown.
Eli Brown was in... Who's Eli Escobar? That's got to be someone else.
I don't know.
He was in the Gossip Girl reboot.
Uh-huh.
So tough. The guy's had a tough career so far.
I mean, that had a couple years, right?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, at least better than the one and done season. And then should we round out our other two perfectionists here?
Yes. So we have Ava, who is played by Sophia Carson, who is from Disney Channel. She is from The Descendants. Which was like a little bit after our time, or maybe like quite a bit after our time. I really don't know. We didn't watch it. But I have seen clips of it, and I'm like, wow, this looks like something I would have eaten up, like hardcore 100%. So we might have to watch The Descendants.
Yeah.
So that's like, I mean, she's been in lots of other things, but that's kind of the big thing that I feel like people would know. And then we have Sydney Park as Caitlin Park Lewis, who is our fake girlfriend of Nolan. Apparently, I was reading like a Reddit thread about like the difference between the books and the show, and it's like Ava was actually his fake girlfriend, and I haven't like fact checked all this. It was just someone's Reddit thread, so I don't. And that like the characters and their representation is kind of off. So I'm sure lots of things changed, but
right. Maybe they just got the actors in, and they're like, oh, this would actually make sense this way.
Mm-hmm. So then Sydney Park is from. She was Cindy in The Walking Dead.
I don't know Walking Dead.
Yeah, I only watched like very early Walking Dead, and I have like no memories of it.
Yeah, I watched like the first season, maybe. Well, I'm a little loud now. Let me turn it down.
He's yelling. She was in it looks like the third season of the Santa Clarita Diet.
I don't know that one.
She was in There's Someone Inside Your House, which was a slasher film, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, she's done some other movies, but those are kind of the heavy hitters, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Haley Aaron, who's Taylor Hotchkiss, who's Nolan's
right.
sister, who we presume and then quickly find out is not dead. But her house is the house that Alison lives in, and she was Alison's job before Alison had her job, which we can talk about too, because what is Alison's actual job?
Mm-hmm. It is interesting. And it's funny also that you mentioned living in her house. We're speed, because we'll talk about this too, but it's really speed running a lot of Pretty Little Liars stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, we've got a lot of Pretty Little Liars-esque tropes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coming in here. All right, before we get into the recap, real quick. So, looking ahead at other shows and what we're doing next, we've been talking about doing Lost. We're thinking now to pivot instead to do Riverdale. One reason for this too is because we've recently found out that Original Sin is part of the Riverdale universe technically. And we quote Riverdale so much on the show. So it'd be a different vibe because we'd both know the mysteries and stuff going in. But
would we? Do you remember anything? You always remember things, actually.
I would 100% still be surprised because Riverdale has just like so much packed into it. But then I would probably remember where a lot of the mysteries ended up.
Oh, that must be nice.
Yeah. I mean, I know season 1.
I couldn't remember who Cece's dad was.
Okay, that's a little different. That's just kind of out of nowhere. But yeah, so we're thinking of doing Riverdale, and then if we do Riverdale, we do a whole Archie unit, to borrow a term from Shelby genre, and also do Sabrina and the Katie Keene canceled show,
which would have a nice tie-in to Lucy Hale.
Exactly.
And I just really think The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is probably like one of the better YA kind of like this genre of show I've seen, though it doesn't have a murder mystery per se.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a little different, but
it's
it would be
so
stretching the
campy.
bounds. It really is.
And we love camp.
It'll be interesting too to compare also to Original Sin.
Yes, I'm really excited for Original Sin. So I guess we can see how we feel when we finish that. And if anyone has really strong opinions.
Yeah, for us to like continue to do Lost instead, let us know. But for now, we're going to instead pivot to Riverdale.
So I have to spend even more time not watching the Mike's Mike recap of Lost.
I mean, maybe you could just watch it and then, because it's only one season, you're not going to get much out of it.
And also, as we've talked, it's like a sieve in here. It's not keeping anything.
So, and then the other thing too is we're now going to start doing regular breaks in between shows every time just to give ourselves some time. I'm like, we can plow ahead. And Emily's like, we should take a break. And then, of course, the week after, it's like, oh God, we need to take a break.
Yeah, I tried to stop you.
So, yeah, apologies for missing out on that. But I've also, since we need a page and we don't really have a specific website to go to see posts and updates like that, I'm going to reactivate our co-host that we used a long time ago. I already posted again on there. I'm going to include links to that going forward in all our descriptions where you can, I mean, I'm not going to probably post too much other than our, when the podcast goes live and if there's delays or whatnot happening. So, that's your page to go to if you're like, wait, there's no episode. Mm-hmm. So that'll be going forward.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right. You ready to recap?
I am. Episode 1. Pilot. We open on Beacon Heights University and get a voiceover about how prestigious it is and challenging it is. We see a man play a cello, ? This turns out to be Dylan. A girl runs and we see on her watch, it's 3 a.m. This is, oh God, I just lost, her name just went right out my head. Oh my God.
Ava?
No.
Caitlin?
Thank you.
Then, I was like, I can't remember. So.
Yeah, and then the voiceover says there's pressure to stay in school and someone is about to snap and kill. Alison is in a car. She's in Oregon now and joining the faculty at the college. She steps out of the car and steps into her new home. She hears something creak and looks to see if someone's there. She checks in the basement but doesn't go down, just kind of shines a flashlight down there, Chekhov's basement, and is startled by Mona, who's there with Pi. Allie asks what she's doing there. Mona works at BHU in admissions. She was in France until her reason for being there, quote unquote, escaped her. And she also helped hire Alison here. Mona said, and then she also worked in like game design or something. Alison says
Mona's lived 1,000 lives.
She really has. Mona says she came here for a fresh start. My notes say fresher's tart. That sounds too good. Allie says Emily loved me but couldn't get past. Gotta wait for a second. I'm sorry.
No, I was just laughing at the Allie says Emily loved me.
She tells us about how Emily loved her but can't get past the past, and it always comes back to trust. Vague. She wants to leave the mean girl behind and help those kids. Allison notices a module on the wall, and Mona says it's Beacon Guard. It's made the campus the safest school in Oregon. Like that they can't even commit to the U.S.
Or even like the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
The West Coast.
Oregon. University of Oregon, Oregon State, you're on notice.
California, they're like, California schools will sue. We gotta go for something.
Too safe. Allison puts away the pie and Mona stares into the mirror saying, Allison's as motivated as she ever was, don't you think? Allison and Mona...
I thought this was just really lazy storytelling. And I was
Totally.
so mad because I was like, wow, this is really good, except for this really lazy storytelling of Mona talking to mirrors.
Right. Oh, look at Mona. She's like crazy Mona again.
Well, and it's like, oh, she has to tell us what's happening. And I'm like, no one
Right.
needed to tell us. This was not information we didn't have.
Yeah, this pilot is all about telling. Everybody comes into the room. It's like, wow, I can't believe how long we've been together. We're in love. Remember how we used to date, Caitlin? And that's, I'm not going to knock it too much, but there's so much of that. Alison and Mona walk the campus. They talk about the Hotchkiss family, I had originally written this down wrong, sorry. The Hotchkiss family, who spent a bunch of money on the school, and their daughter Taylor committed suicide the year before, and her brother is in Allison's class. God, this is me taking rapid fire notes. I'm sorry to do this again, but in Allison's house. And that is Nolan, who we'll meet later. Mona tells her she's living in Taylor's house. Allison teaches her class as the new TA. They discuss, we presume some sort of comp lit or English. They discuss, and then there were none. The Agatha Christie story. We meet students Dylan Walker, Ava Jalali, who is not a great student, but is a YouTuber to pay for school. Caitlin Lewis, and Nolan Hotchkiss, part of the big Hotchkiss family that helps run the school. Herb, and is also Ava's boyfriend and is a dickhead from Jump Street. And he also knows who Allison is. Allison stops him after class and he says, my mom will say you're here because you remind me of my sister, but it's more than that. After class, Nolan begs Caitlin to come to the family dinner, and she doesn't want to, but eventually agrees. He also tells Dylan that it's the same arrangement as last year, and he has to do Nolan's and Ava's papers. Dylan says, I can't do both papers because I'm really busy trying for the symphony, and Ava says, that's so great, pats him on the back, and Nolan's like, well, you'll figure it out, and then leaves, followed by Ava. Caitlin tells Dylan she thought it'd be different since Taylor's suicide. Dylan says Nolan didn't cry at her funeral. Caitlin says if Nolan has something on you, and then Dylan's like, we're fake friends, it's okay, we just make it seem like we're a perfect posse, we don't have to actually talk. And then we see cameras with the Beacon Guard logo on them on top of the buildings watching. Allison stops Mona to ask about Nolan and says, who did you tell about my background? Mona says she didn't tell anyone, especially Nolan, because he's smart, but he doesn't belong here. By her calculations, he could be dangerous, so stay away from him.
That's like my favorite thing that happens is Mona's like, well, I've put this boy in an equation and I think he could be dangerous.
Right.
You're standing next to Alison De Laurentiis. You went into a dollhouse willingly. I mean, she didn't know what it was, but you confronted Cece on the top of the tower and killed her. Which once again,
right. Fair.
The vibes. But I'm like, oh.
It's very funny that she's moved into, I have algorithms for all these things.
Also, I did not
calculations.
I did not think about this when we were watching it, but he dies the way Cece died, just more dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
If we really want to play that game.
Wait, but we don't actually know Cece died by getting hit in the back of the head.
Oh, that's true. No. Yeah, and she didn't get impaled, but she did fall.
And so we don't know. We'll probably find out something about Dylan getting hit in the back of the head, actually, and then he was dead before he hit the post.
Well, it wouldn't be a Pretty Little Liars show if it wasn't happening.
Exactly. Like Dylan is asleep in his dorm room as his, I thought I said roommate originally, but no, it's his boyfriend. Comes in and wakes him up to ask why he did work for Nolan and Ava. Dylan defends them both, and the boy grabs his hand and kisses him. He asks why Dylan hangs out with Nolan. He's the worst, and then Dylan runs off to class. Caitlin studies naked in someone's bed. We see it's not Nolan, but a different fella. He's got a British accent. Alarm bells are ringing. Watch out for this man. He's British. He says, I don't get what you see in Nolan. We get a flashback. Nolan stops Caitlin outside of an apartment. We assume it's the British boys. And he's like, wow, it's your second date with him. She's weirded out by him knowing. He says, to the rest of the world, you and I are still a perfect couple. She says, I don't want to pretend to be your girlfriend. He says, I'm with Ava now, and you know how my mom feels about her. Caitlin says, stand up to her. I don't care. Nolan holds up his phone to a picture of her mom and a man having sex, and it's like, if this gets out, it'll end your mom's political career. Back in the present, Caitlin tells her British boyfriend that she can't let this blow up. He offers to talk to Nolan to squash it, and she says no. Ava and Nolan sit at the pool. Ava is writing scripts for her YouTube so that you'll get pop-ups no matter what. Ava, is a true girl boss, and this is a horrible move.
She's overriding the ad blocker.
Yeah. You don't get pop-ups on YouTube, but Ava is going out of her way to do this. She's smart and capable, and also just going to squash everybody else underneath her.
Also,
true girl boss.
Caitlin's British boyfriend's name is Jeremy.
Thank you so
Jeremy
much.
Beckett.
We get to that later.
Okay.
I couldn't remember. I think we looked it up because I kept writing BB, and I was just like, oh my God, what's his name? I don't think we actually hear his name. She wants her name to be more. Ava wants her name to be more than her dad. Nolan says her internship at Vogue is luck. Nolan says I was born into a perfect family and I have to pretend to be something special, but you'll do it on your own. She kisses him. Nolan comes inside and finds his mom. She met Ava on her way out. Uh-oh. Nolan says she's just a friend. Mom says, let's keep it that way. You don't need her family's drama. I spoke to Coach Wayne. He wants you to lead another practice this weekend. He wants to quit crew because he's taking a full load of classes. And then his mom goes, you'll figure it out. Ah, so he learned it from her. And then asked to speak to Ava at the party tomorrow. After Nolan leaves the room, she makes a call and asks for active surveillance on her son. Dylan plays his cello at home as boyfriend comes in. Andrew, I believe is what his name is. Dylan is stressed about playing well enough, and then Andrew says, after this concert, we're going to go to my boss's house afterwards, and I also applied for an internship with him, who's an important architect in town. Wow. Alison meets Ava for lunch and grills her on who actually wrote her paper, Nolan or Dylan. She also says, I read your file. I know about your family. Have they found your dad? Ava says someone who embezzled millions of dollars won't be caught. Alison asks about her mom, and Ava says she bailed. Flashback that the FBI is questioning Ava in an empty-ass mansion. Ava says they left me with nothing. Get out. FBI agent leaves, and Ava accesses a hidden panel on the wall that is a bag full of money and a note from her dad that just says, sorry.
It's the fucking funniest thing. I mean, it's obviously not a fun, but it's so funny.
It's pretty funny. Ava goes to leave and says, want to help me? Leave me and my friends alone and let this go. We see Mona watch them from outside. Alison attends the welcome back party and sees Mona, who organized the party. Alison also sees Dylan playing music at the party as part of a band. She also, or an accompaniment, an arrangement.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like a band implies something different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bunch
orchestra?
of string instruments, yeah. She also sees Nolan and Caitlin.
A quartet? Is that?
Oh, potentially.
I don't know.
A combo.
It plays in a combo.
Never think of that from I always think of that from Gilmore Girls. When
Jay Fragowski says that to Mrs. Kim.
And Mrs. Kim's like, a music combo. She also sees Nolan and Caitlin arguing outside. Mama Hotchkiss goes to meet Alison. She says her application for the scholarship really spoke to her, and they're curious about her journey from mean girl to mentor. Alison says, I hope I can connect with these kids. Claire says, that's why my daughter became a teacher. You remind me of her. We're still working through our grief, but it's why we want to keep things so safe around here. You're safe around here. And also says, I know you won't disappoint me, Alison. Dylan waits for Nolan after seeing him talk to his boyfriend. Dylan asks why they were talking, and Nolan says, well, he was saying how nice it was living together with you. And Dylan says, save it. Nolan says you're hot when you're angry. And then Dylan says, you have no idea what I'm like when I'm angry. Keep messing with my relationship and find out. Claire organizes a photo for Nolan and the friends, and Alison watches Ava touch Nolan's hand as he pulls it away. Caitlin steps away and sees Jeremy, there we go, British boyfriend, is calling, and Alison comes up and compliments her work. She asks about Nolan and seeing them argue. Caitlin says, "You saw someone else. We're happy." Alison asks if she's afraid and she can help her. Caitlin says, "It'll make things worse if you start asking questions." Alison says, "I used to be like Nolan." Caitlin says he'll do anything to keep his mom out. Alison's like, "Pretend that you're his girlfriend," and when he's with Ava, and then Caitlin steps away. Nolan walks away alone along a huge pool. It is very fancy. Mona watches him leave into a forest. Nolan is on his phone and scans to see. He also pulls up like an app thing that scans to see if he's out of range of beacon guard. Once he is, he calls and says he needs to see someone on the other line. He hears that he's being surveilled and says there must be some on Ava too. We need to meet. Alison talks to Dylan about writing the papers, and knowing that he did it for Nolan and Ava, she asks if Nolan's manipulated him. Flashback. Dylan and Nolan discuss his paper from a while ago. They talk about Andrew moving in and them being exclusive now, and then Nolan says, "That sounds limiting. If we're going to hook up, we have to do it sooner rather than later." Dylan is flustered, and Nolan says, "Are you going to kiss me? I know you're going to kiss me."
His Alison moment. Yeah, I was like, oh. Yeah.
And Dylan is all Nolan said, wait, blah, 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 blah. No, Dylan is flustered. Yep. Dylan does kiss him, and they hook up. Back in the present, Dylan says he didn't write their papers. Alison says it'd be a shame to throw away your music scholarship. Dylan says, "I grew up in a small town where I couldn't be different. Music was my way out. Just a small town boy." Alison, "Run away, turn away." Alison says, "If I report..."
Two different songs.
I was, what's it? Bronski beat. Small town boy, right? No.
I was thinking I thought you were singing Journey.
No, yeah. Oh, I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I too would think of Journey if I was not in my own head and thinking of Bronski beat.
Okay.
Because that's about being gay in a small town and getting out of town. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that context is very helpful. Thank you. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Really good song. Dylan, group, and Alison says, "If I report this, you'll be expelled. I don't want that. Let me help you." Dylan says, "If you want to help, let it go." Alison says, "I'm giving you 24 hours. Alison, the cop. Ava gets ready for a photo shoot.
She dated one.
Yeah.
Only one? I think only one.
Just one. Yeah. Ava gets ready for a photo shoot. She steps into her room and finds Nolan with someone else. I'm assuming this was the model for the photo shoot. They both go to leave, and Ava says, "Why are you doing this?" Nolan says, "It was just about the sex. I was bored of you." Ava says, "This isn't you. I can get past this if you talk to me." And Nolan tells her to get a grip and leaves. Alison searches the Hodgkiss family online and reads Taylor's obituary. Nolan drives his expensive Audi into the woods, into a cabin. He goes inside, and we see an ominous Mini Cooper pull up.
You know what I always say? The most dangerous people drive Mini Coopers.
That's right. They watch The Italian Job, and they're like, "This is it." Nolan walks inside and meets his sister. Oh, she's alive. He tells her that he broke up with Ava and she says that you can explain later you did it to protect her. He's like, "Well, I don't know if she's going to buy that." And are you making asks if she's making progress, and Taylor's like, "Nothing's stable for taking down the beacon guard. We have proof they're spying on students. We just need a why to bring them down." Why? I don't understand this specific point. Nolan says, "I know someone who can help." Alison Googles Taylor's suicide. I guess maybe they're trying to see what they're doing with the data. Either way. Alison Googles Taylor's suicide, but beacon guard lights up and blocks her. Damn, this blocker. She sees Dylan walking around late on campus and goes to follow. Ava, Dylan, and Caitlin meet in the woods. It's apparently a spot where Nolan used to bring Caitlin and Ava separately. Ava says, "Somehow I think it's safe." Dylan's like, "From what?" Ava says, "I'm done with Nolan. Allison offered to help me." Caitlin and Dylan say, "Me too." And Dylan says, "I have 24 hours. Ava says the three of us should tell the school. Dylan says if we do this stuff, the stuff he has on us would come out. Dylan's like, what if we killed him for fun, you know? And then they murder can be justified. We learned about that from the Agatha Christie book that we read earlier. They keep talking about how this book is talking about pro-murder for really messed up people. I don't know if that's quite what we're getting at, but there is something cathartic about hunting down the really terrible people that are in and that are not. They all talk about fantasizing killing him. They hear a noise in the woods and get spooked and leave. Thunder, crash. Mona gets in her reasonable commuter car. She looks in her rearview mirror and says, I think I'm doing a good job, don't you? Alison smacks in front of her car and yells, why am I really here? Alison tells Mona that it's not just Nolan. Taylor could be my doppelganger. Mona says, it's a coincidence. You were selected before I knew what she even looked like. Alison says, did you learn nothing from Rosewood? There's no coincidences.
What did Alison learn in Rosewood? I guess she was there with Miss Grundy.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Allison says.
No. I'm just saying, what did Alison learn in Rosewood? You know what I mean? Like, we don't see a lot of Allie's journey in Rosewood.
Yeah, that's fair.
And she's like, did you learn nothing from Rosewood? Was Mona ever in Rosewood?
Wait. You're talking about Allison or Mona?
Mona.
What did Mona learn in Rosewood?
When would Mona have learned anything in Rosewood? Or not Rosewood, sorry. I was thinking Ravenswood.
And the line also comes from Allison, if I misspoke.
Oh, no. I was just confused. I was having a moment.
That'd be so funny if this was Ravenswood.
Yeah, I thought for some reason it was referencing Ravenswood, and I was like,
you know what would have been good? Allison's like, did you learn nothing from Ravenswood? And then Mona goes, it's complicated. Mona says Taylor cracked, and that's why you're here. So Claire and BHU don't lose anyone else. Nolan's three fake friends walk back to school. Dylan says maybe if there wasn't a Nolan, we could have been friends. They go their separate ways. We see Nolan watching them from the rooftop. A figure appears behind him. He says, I know it's crazy beating here, but it's a safe zone. I'm sorry, I've been such an asshole to you, but time is running out. It's not just about me, but Taylor too. She's alive. Allison finds a crack in her wallpaper and rips it apart to find a message written in red that says they're watching. She hears sirens and goes to the school. She finds the police and a crowd plus Mona. Mona tells her that Nolan is dead. His body is impaled on the fence. Allison sees Ava break down in tears, crying. We see Caitlin and Jeremy in the crowd. Dylan appears next to Caitlin and says, it's just like you imagined it, when she was talking in the woods. Andrew approaches as well. Mona's in the bathroom and yells at a girl to get out. Fantastic. Mona says, what just happened? Was it our fault? And then we see that as she's speaking to the beer, that we get a wall-sized screen and there's a woman with an earpiece in front of it who says, Mona, go to your safe place now. The camera pulls back and we see it's a room with other people running around as the wall-sized screen shows a bunch of different camera feeds. The end.
Okay. I think we have to start with our connective tissue.
Okay.
Why is Allie here?
I don't know.
Okay.
There's not a good enough, like, wait. Are you talking about, like, on a show level?
I mean,
not mystery, right? You're talking, because that is the mystery of, like, why is Allison here?
No. I mean, both, but, like, why did they do this?
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea bringing, like, Alison and Mona back in, because you could have just done, there's a way that you do, like, Pretty Little Liars, the name, as, like, an anthology series. Because we don't really need Alison in here at all.
No. Did we need any sort of like connection to Rosewood for this?
No. And I think it would be stronger too if the teacher or the TA in Allison's case, the faculty member that's probing into their lives was someone we didn't know. So then we're also left guessing of whether this is someone truthful to go to. Rather than with like Allison is just kind of like sticking her nose in things because she came from Rosewood and is like, well, I need to always keep abreast of what's going on and really like dig my heels into stuff, or not dig my heels, but like look into things like this. Get really unhealthily involved in other people's lives. But I don't, there's not like a strong enough thing for me otherwise to like really say that we should have a connection back to Rosewood at all. And you can maybe have him come in like, ooh, here's wink, wink, nod, nod for an episode or something. But...
yeah, like, oh, she's touring the school, or like, you know, Ezra's doing a lecture there or something.
Oh,
but,
that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he should be allowed, but I guess they're all over 18.
I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting choice. And I wonder if the show would have been better off and drawn in a different audience had they not connected it to Pretty Little Liars in that way.
Yeah.
Because I think that we learned from Riverdale, which was around the same time, like a teen YA, young adult, and this is still YA, murder mystery does really well. And I saw the conjecture online that like part of it was like at the time also like the station was moving more towards more relatable, like average families. I say that with a lot of air quotes because like no television family is actually living an average life except for maybe Malcolm in the Middle, but I didn't watch a lot of that.
It's all marketing speak.
Yeah. But so I like if that was part of the movement there, because obviously these are some really affluent kids, but I still think it would have done really well because it's really interesting.
Yeah. And
But like, would you, like, after how that show ended, would you have trusted to watch a new Pretty Little Liars show?
Exactly. Like, I can see that this was greenlit by execs before they had the big blowback to like really understand that, like, because this was greenlit in 2017. And also, sorry, this was attached to Marlene King to adapt The Perfectionist back in like 2014, and then was reworked to be a Pretty Little Liars spinoff in like 2017, and that's when it got greenlit. So you can see that there's still so much buzz about Pretty Little Liars that they're like, yeah, we'll do it, without hitting the backlash point where it seems like a bad idea to hitch your wagon on this. Or in exec speak, you still think, well, we'd rather have the follow-up to an existing IP, big quotes there. So people recognize the name and would then come to it. Where I think, exactly to your point, if it was just called The Perfectionist, and it's this new mystery show, that might have had some legs.
Well, and I think there was also like a huge gap in the market for like a college age mystery. Like this is like it's not high schoolers, so it's got like there's a different level to it, and it brings you a different, like, I mean, not really level of maturity per se, but a level of freedom for the characters that makes sense, and like different life issues for them to be approaching, and like living with your partner, or like, walking in on your partner hooking up in your office space, and like things like that. It's just like, it's very, I mean, it's not relatable for a lot of people in general, that last aspect. I hope many people live with their partners, but it is like, and it's fun. Like, and I feel like there was a good market for that, for like that slightly older. It's like the new adult genre in fantasy, well, in all writing, but I feel like I see it the most in fantasy, like in terms of writing. And this idea that it's slightly older than YA, but it's still got that pacing of YA, and it's still got that fun, like snappy, fresh, and young kind of energy. God, I sound so old.
Were you in the board meeting with these execs?
No, because I would have said, why are we tying this to Pretty Little Liars? And I think they could have even like cast Pretty Little Liars alums as different roles. Like there was no reason why they even had to necessarily, like they could have still used Sasha and
oh yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, but then have them play something different.
Yeah, I don't watch the show, but it's like it's that Daniel Radcliffe show that was on TBS for a while. But like every season, it was like a completely different thing, but with the same actors.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
that's a cool concept.
Yeah, it was like a comedy show.
I think about like the directors that have the same actors in their movies time and time again. And so I'm like, well, you could do the same thing with television.
Yeah. You got your Scorsese DiCaprio team coming
Well, and
back.
then you're bringing in, like, no one would argue that Janelle or Sasha were not good actresses. I mean, I'm sure there are people that would, but for the most part, like...
Not this podcast.
Yeah, we would not argue that. But, like, besides Brenton, like, I don't know anyone who really loved Mona in quite the same way. It's like, I wasn't flocking to a show about Mona and Alison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That wasn't my vibe. That wasn't what I was looking for.
And then also, if you're a diehard fan and you didn't like the end, then you look at that this is the like exact same creative heads.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, same producers and everything. You kind of go, eh. And so for context too, this show's ratings were awful, in comparison to Pretty Little Liars.
In terms of how many people watched.
Yep. So, well, Nielsen ratings are like, it's like households watched.
Okay.
It's this weird kind of metric that way. So there was, for Pretty Little Liars, they always had at least above 1 million for the most part. Like their low was probably like 1 billion. Usually like in the like high 1s to 2 million viewers toward the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then this didn't crack 300,000 on the premiere.
We also have to think too, this was 2 years after that show finished. They waited a really long time between them. I think if they tried to get this out right after, they would have had more luck because people still would have been giving more, you know what I mean? You didn't have time to sit with how bad you felt about the ending.
Yeah.
There was a lot of time to sit with how bad you felt about the ending.
Yep. And I also, it'll be interesting too when we get to Original Sin, because is that 21 or 22? That's really not that long after this, but you get the creator of Riverdale coming in to do a new take on it, and then people are suddenly, I think, more interested.
Well, and he took it in like a thriller slasher horror kind of direction, from what I understand, and like a campier direction.
Right.
Whereas I think like from the beginning, I would argue it's like the millennialism versus the Gen Z almost of it. And I know like the creators are both probably millennial or older or Gen X. But the idea that like Marlene's was very much like that was the television we were given as millennials. Like that was what we got, and we were excited about it and we were into it. And then like kind of the more broad, campy, more like tongue-in-cheek playfulness of like the newer one, I assume based on the other things he's written, kind of like how that's going to play out.
Yep. I also have assumptions there as well.
I think that's more like it's fresher because it's like it's what we want to consume now. It's just like what the trend is, or not necessarily the trend, but you know what I mean. Like it's just where the market is.
And I think that's a lot of coming from him.
Yes, I think he's got a really heavy hand in the YA market.
Right. I think something like Wednesday models a lot off of Riverdale's success.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Riverdale is, I think we looked this up, was 2017. So that's really like the changing of the hands, where Riverdale is like a big kind of new thing. So you could also see that having some effect on how the Perfectionist is maybe perceived too.
But also Riverdale is back to that idea of like the more normal person. It's like more average. I mean, it's an idyllic, but it's like the middle class dream concept. These aren't like the wealthy of the wealthy, except for Veronica.
That's true.
Do you think that plays into it at all, or no?
I think Riverdale is so disconnected from reality. That
True. But
because like
when
it's
you
like
start it, you don't think that, do you? We'll have to see how we feel when we restart it.
Yeah, maybe not, because it is much more small town thriller, a la Twin Peaks. You know, same thing as like PLL. But yeah, it's working class, quote unquote. Maybe.
It'll just be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily like, once again, is that what a bunch of execs in a room decided, or is that what like people actually wanted?
Okay, but I will say with Riverdale, it very quickly becomes working class costume.
Oh yeah.
We all pitch in.
Well, in 1950s, I mean, you know, we were also pretending we don't really know what era we're in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Because that's coming directly from Archie comics. Which I'll probably have to, if we do that, I'll probably have to read some of those. I've never read an Archie comic.
Okay. Back to Perfectionists, though. We've gotten very derailed. Why do we think Mona is there? Like, how did she end up there? What happened to Alex and Mary Drake? That's the other thing that I can't stand about them bringing Mona into this, is that they wrote their own plot hole. They started a show with a new plot hole.
It's so funny.
Also, like, it's like, oh, did the other girls ever report to the police? Did the police ever look into like, what happened?
They're just gone. No one cares. Alex, or at least Mary, they just don't. It's very much like Alex, that no one cares. No one cares about her. She's gone. She fell through the cracks. She's a child left behind. Mary is just gone. No one cares. It's really sad.
It's wild.
No one cares about the Drakes.
But one of them's a missing criminal.
Yeah. They just...
Anyway.
There's lots of unsolved cases in Rosewood, I guess. Anyway, yeah, the Mona... I'm assuming Mona... Part of the mystery here is Mona was recruited to bring in specifically one Alison, and then keep an eye on her too. But all because they know how good and like manipulative she can be. They have like
how do they know?
They seem to know about Rosewood, because also where Claire specifically talks to Alison about, I'm interested to hear your story from going to Mean Girl to Mentor.
But I think that was her essay. I think that was kind of her personal statement. That's what I thought.
But I just get the vibe that there's more to it. But I'm assuming we're gonna get something where they know a lot more about what happened in PLL.
Okay. Allie tells Mona that her and Emily are having issues. Is she just away from her children? I have so many questions about this. One, the babies look like Allison. They are Emily's egg and Ren's sperm. Why do they look like Allison?
That's so funny.
Two, like, is she away from Emily? And it's like, since technically, are they not legally hers? Are they legally only Emily's?
And then Emily just
decides
took the kids?
Yeah, or did Allie leave and leave them? Like, I have so many questions about this, and I know we don't have any answers, but
it's very funny that it just think of the trope of like the trope a lot of the times is the dad, or like, you know, your lead male character is running away from his problems, and that sometimes includes a family and like some sort of estrangement that way.
Like the beginning of Mad Men?
Yeah, well, at least the beginning of Mad Men, you're like, oh, he's like has a family. Whoops. Or I'm thinking like they'll do this in other thrillers and like horror stories or something where it's the man is somehow divorced, estranged from his family. I guess maybe this is me listening to the Stephen King podcast and learning a lot about that. And that's why they're in this new town starting over.
And they get to be like single, but yeah.
Right, but they're carrying all this baggage with them. And that's what Allison's doing here. She took the kids, Mona.
Allie asking if it's okay to murder a murderer is top tier irony on this show, because like every single one of her friends is a felon, I believe.
And this comes up in the class she's teaching.
Yes. What is her job though? She's a TA, but she's teaching the class, which like the way we went to college, you had like big lectures with a professor and then you had small sections with a TA. So like, is this a section, or is she the TA that's teaching the class? Because like summer school classes that were smaller, the TA taught the class. Like, you know, what's going on here? Who's the professor if she's the TA?
Right.
Is Allie picking?
Professor.
Yeah. Is Allie picking the assignments, or is the professor? What's like, who's her boss?
Right. And then also it seems like she is some sort of faculty student outreach as well.
Why is she getting involved? And they're like, oh, we're so glad you're here. And it's like, that's part of her job. It's to get to nosy her way into people's lives.
It's really vague of like,
imagine your job being like, get involved in these 20-year-olds drama.
Help them, quote unquote. And Allison's like, I can absolutely get unhealthily involved. Who's the professor? That's my biggest thing. It's like,
who's in charge?
Yeah.
Okay, with beacon guard and surveillance, we know Nolan's mother runs it all.
Or does she?
What's the school looking for?
So I'm actually curious. Does she run beacon guard? That's a question to me. I don't know if because it seems like she can make orders and things, but is beacon guard its own separate entity? Anyways, what's their goal?
Yeah, what are they trying to see?
Because I guess that's why Taylor is like, we need the why of like why they're collecting all this thing. Other than
because like if you're on a campus, do you have a right to privacy? Like there's a lot of, you know.
Right. Is it kind of like, well, yeah, that's a little bit of a scary thought too. I mean, it makes sense of being on like school Wi-Fi and things like where Mona gets blocked. I mean, that's aggressive, but that schools can't control those things. Yeah, is it truly just that they get to be the arbiters of what's good, and that they shut down anybody else to keep up the carrying over from Pretty Little Liars of, keeping up appearances and things like that to your neighbors and things? Is Beacon Guard essentially to clean up or keep up the appearance of like this perfect school by monitoring the activities of its students? And so you can essentially just extremely be fascist on them and like send cops or things or security guards things to take care of kids and keep them in line, quote unquote.
Okay.
So yeah, is it just a fascist project in that way? And that's at least where I'm going now, but it seems like we'll get more details on like actually what they're doing is they're selling all the data. I mean, they probably could too. I don't know what else they're doing. Okay,
so let's talk about our new friend who dies, Nolan. Nolan is a wannabe bisexual Chuck Bass. If you didn't watch the show, that just gives you the whole vibe. That's what you get.
Chuck Bass from Gossip Girl.
Yes. If you know, you know. In my opinion, this is a very problematic scenario because once again, Marlene has made our bisexual character manipulative and like toying with people and just like really like a menace to society. And it's mostly, I'm sure there's lots of menaces in Pretty Little Liars, but like we have a lot of bi menaces. And so I've yet to remember or recall a bisexual character on the show that is portrayed as anything but a problem. And to me, that is a problem.
Mm-hmm. I think the only one you could maybe point out is Maya.
But Maya was like the runaway and she smoked pot. You know what I mean? Like they
right.
still tried to paint her as bad.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, Jenna, menace to the end.
Mm-hmm. Or they killed him. I mean, you know what I mean? It's even worse. Like,
right.
Yeah, so Maya, Jenna, Allie.
Allison, yeah.
We've got Nolan here.
Yeah. They all do horrible things at one point or another. Other than Maya, she's reckless.
Mm-hmm. She's 16 or 15
exactly.
or whatever.
Yeah. She's like a loose cannon kind of that way. But everybody else is like really painted as they're manipulative.
And like
and they use sex to control everybody else.
Yes, that's a huge part of it too. Is also like they use their relationships to manipulate people. Mm-hmm. I don't love that. I actually hate that. Let me rephrase. I don't like it at all. It's really problematic to me, and I have some questions for Marlene personally. But just wanted to bring that up. So
and Nolan is complicated too because it's like, oh, I'm doing things also out of some sense of duty to take this all down and bring him down, but then also he's just a shitty, horrible person. Mm-hmm. So we're getting like this weird mesh of like where Alison ends up in Pretty Little Liars and where Alison begins. It's like it's happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can they not just like Google things at a Starbucks instead? That's what I was thinking with Alison. Like she gets the blocker. Campus. Yeah, like can she just leave?
Yeah.
Can she go into town? Is there a nearby town? Is it an isolated campus? We know nothing about the area around the school except that there seems to be woods and fancy houses.
Right. And that they at least control the housing. They provide housing for people like Alison and Mona. But yeah, I mean, you think you'd be able to? Can't you get over to Eugene and use
or just
University of Oregon's?
Not connect to the Wi-Fi and use your phone.
Right. So I could see them having some sort of mumbo jumbo to
blocker or something. Even.
Yeah, exactly.
Nolan is murdered the night everyone decides he's the fucking worst. Which honestly, good for them, but like it took them a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He died via Caitlin's method. When they all discussed their little like how we'd kill him. Do you think any of our perfectionists, like our core 3, killed him?
No.
Okay.
I don't think there's any chance that that's what happened. I think we're gonna get other details on people that he was an asshole to. You know, maybe Jeremy did it. Maybe Jeremy just like had enough. He's like, enough is enough. I'm pushing Nolan off of this tower.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I say Jeremy did it? The accent. We know. Not getting fooled again.
Never fall for a British man. It's Brenton's motto.
That's right. We watched an entire show that was about this.
Yeah.
7 seasons. What does it come down to? Don't trust the British.
Jesus Christ. Should we take a break and then you can do the next episode?
I'm sure. I wanted to, real quick, just talking about other things that are being like, well, I guess the main thing kind of being speed run here is like Alison's arc just in Nolan. Damn it. But there's other things I had that were like, oh, this is really, that Taylor's not dead. Like this whole thing that like something else bigger is happening here. That's like really condensing down like where PLL was. So we can kind of like jump ahead and it's like, okay, we got more things to say. So I think that's part of the excitement here. It's like, we want to use that now as the setup to like, tell a new mystery, which is fun.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 2, 6 Lies and Alibis. Ava cries on the ground, and we pick up exactly where the episode 1 left off. Ava cries on the ground, and Caitlin comes up to talk. Ava says it's exactly how you imagined it. Caitlin and Dylan ask to walk her back. Allie sees them as Ava says, I can't, and walks away. 3 days later, Ava is sat in her room and remembers being with Nolan. Dylan sleeps restlessly, thinking about hooking up with Nolan. Andrew comes in with coffee. Classes have been canceled the past 3 days. Dylan said, it's so like Nolan to haunt me in death. Andrew asked how he haunted him in life, and Dylan's like, never mind. They celebrate the last day of no classes by having sex. Caitlin and Jeremy are in the car down by the water. Caitlin is all obsessed with staying fit, and Jeremy says, we need to talk about Nolan. It's okay if you're relieved he's dead. I'm glad you don't have to worry about him anymore. Caitlin says, that's why I'm focused on getting into the best shape of my life. Jeremy wants them to hook up, but she's worried at first someone might see, but they hook up anyway. Alison calls Beacon Guard to try and see who put the wallpaper up over the message on her wall. She gets a text from Nolan that says, meet me on the roof of Thorn Hall. I need your help. Caitlin and Dylan run into each other at the cafeteria. Dylan talks about not really knowing each other. Caitlin says, except the obvious stuff, I'm on student council and yearbook, track and debate. Caitlin says Nolan never wanted them to be friends. Dylan says, then we could have stood up to him. If we were friends, we could have stood up to him. They then see a news notice on the screen that says that cops ruled Nolan's death a suicide. Caitlin is worried about their conversation in the woods. Dylan tries to call Ava, but it goes straight to her voicemail. Allie goes to see Mona at her apartment and asks if the text was from her. She sees papers strewn up all around the walls with equations, and she also Mona writes equations on the mirror. Mona says she was responsible for his death. Allison asks if she pushed him, and Mona's like, Jesus, no. Allison shows Mona the text, and Mona says the text must have been sent from before he died. It would have been a network malfunction, and now it looks like you killed him. Ava drinks alone and deletes
Which is like such a long jump. One of my favorite Pretty Little Liars things is the immediate jump to like, oh, this must mean you're involved with the murder.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how they do it with the essays here, where it's like, oh, the essays that they were pro killing people means that they are potentially, the murderers or whatever. And it's like, it's very Spencer coded from.
That's what I was going to say. They did this before.
Exactly. And it makes me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I do want to note that Allie was the kind of the one who seemed like she was against, revenge murder, which does at least seem like
fair enough,
as she should, because
she's got a lot of friends.
She's got a lot of friends, and we don't know what she was doing alone for all those years.
No, yeah, we only know that she was in a cellar with oh God, what's his name?
I don't remember.
And some other vagrants. Ava drinks alone and deletes her call history, which was with the other perfectionists and Alison. Dylan tells Andrew he's still looking for Ava. Andrew says, did anyone else know you were doing his papers for him? And this paper you wrote that murder is justified, like, isn't that interesting? Someone is holding something over them. And in the paper, someone is holding something over them and looks bad. Did Nolan have something on you? Dylan says, as an out gay kid in a small town, I didn't have someone to help me. It's about the jerks from back home. Really milking that excuse here, Dylan. Caitlin and Jeremy drive. She had read him her paper to make sure that it wouldn't be something to use against her, and that Alison knew she wrote it about Nolan. Jeremy says you didn't do anything wrong. Caitlin says it's been so hard sneaking around this past year. You deserve a real girlfriend. Jeremy tells her to turn right, and they pull up to a spot near the bridge. He goes to the back of the car and sets her down on a blanket in the hatchback. He plays their song on the radio and calms her down. They dance in the glow of the bridge. Mona continues scribbling equations as Alison comes back with food. Mona says Nolan never belonged here. I flagged him that he could push another student to the point of snapping. And by looking the other way and not telling Mrs. Hotchkiss, I created a killer. Alison realizes she's using her code to figure out who killed him. Allie tells her to snap out of it and eventually slaps Mona. Mona then stands there stunned until she realizes Alison brought pie and then pops over there.
It's very Jughead with the milkshakes and cheeseburgers or whatever it is from Riverdale.
It's also Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks.
But you know what it's not? Boysenberry pie and board shorts beer.
That's right.
It's not Ezra Fitz.
Heartburn City. Every time I hear that, I go, oof.
Your tummy hurts?
Yeah.
No, I just think of Ian drinking the glass of milk, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, that's not great. Menacingly from the hallway.
There's nothing more horrifying than an adult man drinking a glass of milk.
This is all from us growing up in the early 2000s and the 90s when we had those Got Milk ads.
Yeah. I remember the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen one being very, very important.
Yeah. Alison says, I need to tell the police about the text. Mona says, no offense, but when did you become a wuss? Alison's like, I'm supposed to make a habit of doing what's right. Mona tells her she's just wearing a costume. This is, I do love this like turn of everybody being like, it's like, it's almost like as if people were telling like John Wick to go back to the way he was. Like, Alison, you need to shed. You need to become that mean girl again. You know who you are deep down. Unleash it, Alison.
Okay, but Declawed Alley is so unsettling. So like,
oh no, I'm totally on board for it. But the way everybody talks to her about it in this episode specifically,
it's very odd. Yeah,
it's so funny. It's like, you need to let go. Dude, this isn't you, Alison. You're that mean person.
Why do they want her to be that?
I know. Oh, it's great. Someone enters Ava's room while she sleeps. Ava hears the floorboard creak and wakes up to Caitlin and Dylan. Caitlin says, we didn't kill Nolan. We need you to understand that. And that's why we barged into your place.
That's why we broke into your room.
Ava asks why they're there. Caitlin's like, I wish for him to go away, but I didn't do that. Dylan says, we don't know each other well enough for trust, but we need each other. Caitlin says, we have to be Nolan's perfect posse at his funeral. Ava is upset that Caitlin gets to look like the grieving widow when Ava actually loved him. Girl, you could do so much better. Mm-hmm. Dylan says we can't risk having the cops dig in. Caitlin says, unless you're the one with nothing to hide. I was losing my mind that there's a violin cover of Mad World.
Okay, also, I forgot to mention this in the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
There's quite a few, like, orchestra or string covers of popular songs, and I'm just like, oh, did the Perfectionists walk so Bridgerton could run?
Mm-hmm. I think Bridgerton was copying their notes. Ava... Oh, yeah. So the violin cover of Mad World played. It's Nolan's funeral. Ava is serving while the rest of them are blending in. Mama A...
she is. She's got a great outfit.
Yeah, she's got like these shoulder pads and stuff. Like, she's to the nines. And then... both Dylan and Caitlin are like, well, we just kind of...
She knows the role she's supposed to play.
Yeah. Claire hugs Caitlin and tells her to sit up front. It's what Nolan would have wanted. The three go and sit up front, and Ava holds back tears. Mona and Alison grab a seat, and Mona makes sure Alison didn't go to the cops. Turns out there was a beacon guard blackout during the time when Nolan was murdered, including near Alison's house. The Perfectionists get a text from Alison asking to talk. They say they've gotten a lot of messages from her, but they never called her back. They look back and wave at Alison and see Jeremy is sitting in the row in front of her. A boy named Mason tells Claire she's sorry for her loss. She says, Mason, I know you weren't close this year, but childhood friends are friends for life. Mason walks to the front and Dylan tells Caitlin Mason looks a little too sad. That's a little rude. Ava sees the FBI agent who came after her at the funeral. She's no longer with the FBI, but is BHU's head of security. She tells the three friends whoever murdered Nolan will be brought to justice. After the funeral, the three friends meet up at the cafeteria. Ava says the former agent is named Dana Booker and was the primary agent on her dad's case. Caitlin says she'll have access to Nolan's phone and computer. Oh no. Ava says, I know where he kept his weed. Maybe he stashed your secrets there. No, it's going to be on the phone and the computer, if anything. Also, it's like things that would have been stored in his brain. Dylan, you and I hooked up. That's in his brain.
Yeah, did he write it down?
Yeah, or did he like take pictures or something? I don't know. I find this whole plot in this episode of like them being like, our secrets are going to be at the greenhouse. Like, it makes more sense maybe for Caitlin's specific instance where there were photos.
Mm-hmm.
But that would mean that like he wouldn't keep it on his phone and laptop and that he stored it on a hard drive. But he showed it on his phone. So, I don't know. Maybe he stashed your secrets where he kept his weed. Look in the greenhouse behind a broken cinder block. Caitlin asks if Ava is coming with, and she's like, it's your secrets, not mine. Fair enough. Alison asks Mona, why me? Mona says, maybe he thought you could help. Alison says, or maybe someone's trying to frame me. Mona asks her to stay for pie, and Alison says she can't. She's like, I know we've been frenemies in the past, and offers to help Mona. Mona says, I have a life. You know, I have like people here. I play chess with someone every night. It's through some chess club on campus? ? And she has a board on her table, but she doesn't know who plays with her? ?
She plays. It's online. They send each other their moves, I think.
That's what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was so confused. Either way, she appreciates Alison's gesture.
Yeah, it's like anonymous, but online. You know?
I thought she was just like saying things intentionally to make it seem like unsettling. But like, it's just unsettling that she doesn't know who it is. And that's enough. But I thought it was like, yeah, I play with someone, but I don't know who. And they're like setting up moves and then.
Also, like, why would Mona not know who it is? It's Mona.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wouldn't get curious?
Hacker Mona, she can do all these things. She's just doing equations now. No more technology. Caitlin and she would probably have an equation for this. Caitlin and Dylan sneak off to go find the stash. They spot Mason, and Dylan says, your ex is here. Mason asks Caitlin to hang out for a little bit, not as exes, but just as friends. She tells Dylan she'll catch up later. Mason says, I can't imagine a future without Nolan. Caitlin says, you never seemed, when we were dating, you never seemed pleased to be his number 2. Mason's like, I learned to accept it. He tells her if there's anything she needs, he'll back her up, including in case she needs an alibi. She's like, why would I need an alibi? He's like, we all do until they figure out who killed him. Dylan enters the rundown greenhouse and finds a cinder block and finds a note hidden there. I found what you're looking for. Who knew you were so naughty? Hey. The 3 fake friends join a candlelight vigil for Nolan. Dylan tells Ava someone beat them to the secret stash. Caitlin says you better pray he had nothing on you. The 3 friends hear someone whisper, it was just like you imagined, but they can't find anybody. The 3 friends meet in the woods, wondering who knew about their conversation if they made his death made it look like them. Dylan finds gum wrappers and says we weren't alone that night. Ava says we could rule out kids with braces and tells the other 2 she doesn't care about them and goes to leave. Dylan apologizes and says we know it's harder on you than us if we stick together. Ava says there's no sticking together. You have someone and I've just got myself, and leaves. Allison has coffee at the cafeteria and sees Dana Booker looking at her iPad, and she walks over and is like, hey, why are you looking at my iPad? And then it's like, oh, is this a picture of your kids? Dana introduces herself to Allison and asks about the students writing papers on the Agatha Christie book about if murder was justified. She wants to read the papers. Dana has the authority from the school and Allison's contract to read the papers. Allison says they're on my desktop, and Dana says, no worries, I know where to find you. Ava pours herself a drink and listens to voicemails from Dylan and Caitlin that they're there. Oh, God. If she needs to talk, she lays down and cries. Allison comes home and finds her back door open. The lights turn on to Claire sitting in her living room. She's like, I know it's inappropriate for me to be here, but it was my daughter's house before she died. Allison says, I'm sorry, I didn't get to talk to you at the funeral. And Claire's like, I'm getting drunk in your living room. You can call me Claire. Claire mentions the writing on the wall and says we should have had that painted over before they put up the wallpaper. Allison asks if Taylor wrote that. Claire talks about how everything came so easy for Taylor until she became a teacher. She suddenly became delusional and paranoid. She tried to get Taylor help, but didn't trust her and only trusted Nolan. They were super close. Claire always loved how close they were, Nolan and Taylor. Allison says, is there anything I could do for you? Claire says, don't pretend to be anyone you're not. You're not. Here you're a survivor, Allison, and that's what you need to teach them. Mona looks around at her equations and grabs her phone. She calls someone and says, I'm so glad you picked up. I just need to hear a friend's voice. And we find out it's Hannah, and that Hannah has a baby with Caleb, and that Spoby apparently eloped. It's very funny. It's just, they just have Janelle Parrish go like, what? Really? They eloped? It's like, just to tell us information.
Mm-hmm.
Classes resume the next day. Ava texts Dylan and Caitlin, thank you. Allison tells the class her door is open, but gets interrupted as Dana Booker comes in and asks to borrow the 3. Outside class, Dana asks where they all were the night Nolan was killed. Allison comes over and says, I meant to thank them for the welcome basket they brought over that night. Allison's like, you can ask them. I can talk for hours. Dana leaves annoyed, and Allison says, bring it on, bitch. The end.
Okay. Is Caitlin's boyfriend our red herring?
Jeremy?
Yeah.
I guess so. He's my best bet as of this juncture.
Okay.
I guess you could also see... I'm thinking right now that Mason's the red herring.
Okay. I was going to ask Mason's the next. Why is he like, oh, I'll offer you an alibi. Does he need an alibi?
I'm assuming so. I'm also assuming that there is a bit of a love going on with Mason.
Oh.
Of him crying there. I think he was in love with Nolan.
Oh.
That's my assumption.
We got an Allie Emily situation.
That's right. Yeah, playing out again. Yeah, never mind.
Is Mona's apartment under surveillance or not?
Oh, why would you think not?
She's freely writing her equations to try to figure it out. She
I guess that's
openly
fair.
talks to Allison in there in a slightly more open way than she does anywhere else.
Right, that's fair. I just assume since she was in, she's not worried. since she's on the inside working with them about talking to Alison about this stuff. And do you think... Sorry, should have put my phone on silent. No, bad for the class. Wait, I lost my train of thought.
You're gonna ask a "Do you think?" question
about Mona. Oh, that her apartment is the safe space, quote unquote.
Yeah, I was wondering that. Was Nolan's text actually delayed, or someone texting Allie off his phone?
I am Oh wait, because there isn't a time. I assume it was delayed, but this is like something maybe coming from Beacon Guard directly, that it's like coordinated through there.
Okay.
To try and like pin it that way, or to motivate Alison to try and do something. I could see that the strings behind Beacon Guard is trying to like pull her to try and like get involved with these kids, essentially.
Fair enough.
Like force her way in and try and solve what happened to Nolan.
Claire says, and I quote, something about her daughter when she went missing. Went missing being the quote. Not the something about her daughter. It was
her daughter.
Yeah, I'm like, her daughter. No, went missing. She does not say when Taylor committed suicide. And well, granted, there's lots of reasons for that. Do we think that Claire knows that her daughter's not dead?
I could see it. And
or
that
assumes.
Right. And that Nolan and Taylor thought they were like so much more sneaky than they actually were. They just they just did not close ranks on Taylor. And that she assumed that if they tried to do something, she could stop it, maybe? You know?
Do you think that whoever Mona's playing chess with is the killer?
Oh. I hadn't, but I like that theory.
Who is she playing chess with?
Probably someone we know at this point. You know, because the other person that we don't know out of here is Andrew. So that could potentially be someone, because he had appeared at the end of episode 1 walking into the crowd. And what were him and Nolan talking about? I don't know. We'll say Andrew.
Okay.
It's hard because it's episode 2.
Yeah. No, definitely.
We
don't have that many,
We'll throw
though.
some darts, yeah.
We've got our Alison back, but why do you think everyone at this school wants her to be a bitch?
I love it
like
so much.
it's their mission is to make her a bitch
yeah,
again.
Come on. Unleash Alison. It is everybody's mission. I don't understand what they would get out of it. Unless like Claire is playing some sort of long game of getting out under Beacon Guard. Like,
I don't know.
Because that's like part of like my question here is, what is her role in Beacon? Maybe. Were you done with questions?
Yep.
Maybe we should step into something. What might this be?
A really fancy house, because there are a lot of scenes in those.
Oh, definitely not.
Oh, a therapist office?
Nope. The TA's office.
Oh, office hours.
Yeah, welcome to office hours. Brenton's that's much better. Brenton's office hours.
We're just gonna call it the TA's office.
I was gonna, just theory corner, and we were in the professor's office, but I like office hours much better.
We're in office hours.
Welcome to office hours.
Because we got questions and we probably won't get solid answers, so it really does feel like office hours.
Nice.
They were always like, go to office hours, and I'd go, and I'm like, I left more fucking confused when I came.
So I don't have much to go on, but we can just start to throw out all the questions that we got here. So, 1, Beacon Guard. What is their goal? What is their mission? Is Claire running Beacon Guard? Did she originate Beacon Guard? Or is Beacon Guard some sort of third-party service? That's my sort of thing, is that Claire enlisted Beacon Guard, but is now under their thumb, and so knows maybe about Taylor and Nolan trying to do this, and is trying to co-sign them, and is being like, we'll get Alison and potentially Mona, and then Alison to like help push this along to break down Beacon Guard and get uncovered there.
Okay.
But again, what is Beacon Guard? What are they doing? I don't know.
Who's the lady behind the glass?
Right. Who are all those people? Because it's very, it's bureaucracy, right? It's just an office. It's just work. It seems like there's not a lot of people, which I found kind of funny. It's pretty sparse.
Or
But
is it all in Mona's head? Are those all the people in Mona's mind?
Oh my God, if that's what it is, I would really. I hope it's not that.
Sorry, I distracted you.
No, it's okay. Who killed Nolan and why? Nolan kind of it's probably related to Beacon Guard and what he's like pushing, but I mean, Nolan is an asshole, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone just killed him. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. It's fair. Who is playing chess with Mona? Why is Alison there? I kind of gave out my reason there, and I guess the likeness to Taylor is like some sort of intentional thing. I don't quite have a solid one on there, but maybe just to like rattle like Nolan, I guess, and like what they're doing. What else do we have? I think that's kind of like our high level stuff.
Yeah, there really isn't a lot to go into yet. You know what I mean? It's like, who killed him?
No, but at least wanted to have our inaugural hours to kind of take stock. But yeah, that'll be it. So we'll see you all next week for an extended office hours.
Why are they extended?
Because it'll be longer than this.
Oh, okay.
I assume.
Okay.
Or we could just not get any information.
I just was wondering why they were extended. You're fine.
Oh, okay. Goodbye.
I was like, are we in trouble? I want to go to office hours every week.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a bummer.
You got to show face, make the professor really like you. It's good for your grade, allegedly. It's not. It doesn't do anything.
It's tough.
You can just go ask questions if you have some. Which, if you have some, send them our way.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
deadendspcast@gmail.com.
And from what I know, we're not going to get a lot of answers. So also, if you have a fun fan theory.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us that too.
Definitely.
We will read it out and credit you with it.
Yeah. Yeah. But don't give, if there is like reveals and things and twists and turns, don't let us know quite yet.
Or just make sure you put spoiler in it.
Yeah.
That's fine. So
I'll
read it. I've already read most of what happens.
Fair enough. I won't read it.
I did not, from reading the plot, think it would look this bougie.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah. It's like actually, I said, it's a good looking show.
Yeah, it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if partially is because we purchased it. It's like, does Vudu or whatever the service that we bought it on, Fandango now, does that have like better streaming resolution than off of Max, which it might.
I don't know though. I mean, also like, I feel like things came out. Technology shifted really, really quickly over like the last 10, 20 years. So like I could see like resolution improving, and like if they were in the middle of running a show, maybe not necessarily upgrading it until after.
Yeah. And I think they just spent more money on this, so it looks nicer.
The lighting is better.
Dark. Yeah, it's dark, but it's not too dark yet.
It's dark academia, but you can see.
Yeah.
It's not like the 5th and 6th Harry Potter.
It's not like modern blockbusters. Every time I think of I think it's a tweet or a text post that was just like, men of LA, like we need you to we need gaffers. Like
you need someone to turn on a light.
Yeah, God, what is that? Oh crap, I'll have to find it. But it's so funny. I mean, that's exactly it. Like everything's kind of like, huh? I hate it. But this doesn't. You can really like actually like tell things. There's like actually different like spots of color and things. Like it has like a dark vibe to it, like the all like the shots and things, but you can like see things. Nice.
Dark academia.
There you go.
All right, well,
as mentioned, you can send us questions to deadendspcast@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment on our YouTube. Our YouTube is at dead_ends, where you can watch us, our smiling faces. You can also find this audio version on all your audio podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. And then also, as mentioned up top, we've got the co-host going again, so you can see odd posts here and there. And rate us 5 stars and tell friends and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. We love you.
Yeah. And we hope that you continue to join us through this Perfectionist series because it seems like it'll be fun.
And a short journey.
Yes, exactly.
And then we're moving on to Original Sin. I'm a
Mhm.
little scared, but I'm going to be really brave about it.
Yeah.
I don't really do horror that well.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too bad.
I don't think it will be.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Well, what's going to be your sign-off?
Oh. Damn. They didn't give us a new one, did they?
Use your old one.
I guess we'll stick with that until a new one sticks. We're still here. We're going to find out everything.
I don't think we are.
As much as we can.
That's probably.
Aim low. C's get degrees. We're still here, and C's get degrees. Bye, everybody.
Love you. Bye.